Hi folks, I want to bring you up to speed with something that's happening today, which is that I've developed mild symptoms of the coronavirus. That's to say a temperature and a persistent cough. And on the advice of the chief medical officer, I've taken a test that has come out positive. So I am working from home, I'm self-isolating, and that's entirely the right thing to do. But be in no doubt that I can continue, thanks to the wizardry of modern technology, to communicate with all my top team to lead the national fight back against coronavirus. And I want to thank everybody who's involved. I want to thank, of course, above all, our amazing NHS staff. It was very moving last night to join in that national clap for the NHS. But it's not just the NHS, it's our police, social care workers, teachers, everybody who works in schools, the DWP staff, an amazing national effort by the public services, but also by every member of the British public who's volunteering. Incredible response. 600,000 people have volunteered to take part in a great national effort to protect people from the consequences of coronavirus. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody who's working to keep our country going through this epidemic. And we will get through it. And the way we're going to get through it is, of course, by applying the measures that you'll have heard so much about. And the more effectively we all comply with those measures, the faster our country will come through this epidemic and the faster we'll bounce back. So thank you to everybody who's doing what I'm doing, working from home to stop the spread of the virus from household to household. That's the way we're going to win. We're going to beat it, and we're going to beat it together. Stay at home, protect the NHS, and save lives.
Boris Johnson there. For more on this, I'm joined by Europe correspondent Linton Besser in London. Now, Linton, what more can you tell us?
Well, this announcement will come as a shock to a lot of people in Britain who have believed erroneously, of course, that this virus is happening to someone else. And it's a clear demonstration that it is in the UK, if it wasn't clear enough already, with more than 11,500 cases and more than 550 people having already died. He took to Twitter to make that announcement, Boris Johnson. He's 55 years old and as far as I'm aware, hasn't really ever had any major health problems. He said, of course, he's only got mild symptoms and is working from home, like so many people in this country. And you heard him there praising not only the NHS, but emergency services and other vital services, trying to keep Britain going. He also said it was quite a moving moment last night. At 8 o'clock last night, Yvonne, there was a clap for the carers, a round of applause from open windows and door stoops right across Britain to praise the work that they're doing and the risks that they're taking in doing so. Boris Johnson, of course, not the only high-profile person here in Britain to have been diagnosed this week. Prince Charles being the other one, and that was only, I think, 48 hours ago now, that the 71-year-old heir to the throne announced he too was positive and was in self-isolation, and his symptoms, Yvonne, are also mild.
Well, the news of Boris Johnson we've only heard within the past hour. We are starting to get a few reactions already, including from our very own Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's right. Scott Morrison sent his best via Twitter, as politicians are wont to do. So too did the former Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, wishing him a speedy recovery. You know, I think no one wants to see any of these people go down with this virus to become more ill than they are. Boris Johnson is continuing the work of his office, of the Prime Ministership. If he did become more ill, Yvonne, it wouldn't be the Chancellor of the Exchequer who takes over. It would be the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab. But we're not at that point yet. And Boris Johnson's not the only senior political figure to have come down with the coronavirus or face self-isolation. In Canada, Justin Trudeau's partner is sick with it and he's in self-isolation. A couple of very senior officials in Iran have contracted it. The mental health minister here in the UK, and of course, Peter Dutton back home. Politicians, you'd have to think, are pretty susceptible to contracting it because so much of their work involves public engagement. And we've seen Boris Johnson briefing the press regularly this week. And yes, although they have several metres between himself and his senior health officers, it's not like just working from home continuously as he's now going to have to do.
Indeed, it just does prove that world leaders are not immune. Back in Britain, how are citizens reacting given the pace of development over there?
Well, it's been pretty slow until this week. On Monday night, the Prime Minister announced a form of lockdown. He shuttered all non-essential businesses. He issued a regulation there shouldn't be any kind of gathering of people. If there's any more than two of them, we were urged only to leave our homes once a day for a bout of exercise and to only go to the shops to buy the bare necessities only when absolutely necessary to try and cut back on the number of trips people are taking. And so, gradually this week that message has gotten through. In the Peak District, the police up there are using drones to identify and to shame people that have gone rambling in the hills and holidaymakers taking photographs. They've been told to go back home. This morning at Clapham Common, near where I live, all of the outdoor gym equipment I noticed this morning had been taped off because people were still using it. So gradually, the message is getting through. But what is really cutting through is on social media. Some pretty grim stories are now circulating of relatively young people contracting this virus and becoming gravely ill. The most tragic story, a 21-year-old woman died last week from coronavirus. She had no underlying health symptoms whatever.
Quite dramatic news for people to wake up to today too. Thank you, Linton Besser, for updating us. Really appreciate it.